get Commissioner Powell to do the invocation.
Would you pray with me, please? Heavenly Father and Almighty God, we thank you for the health, strength, and opportunity of being here tonight. Pray your blessings on all decisions that are made. Father, we pray for this country, and we pray for the observance of D-Day tomorrow, June 6th. Thank you for those men and women who gave their lives during World War II that would ensure us the opportunities that we have in this land and this country today, as well as our other veterans. And pray that you bless any surviving World War II veterans tomorrow as we celebrate that important date in our history. Again, we pray for your guidance and direction. Ask these prayers in Christ's name. Amen.
Ask the child per year do our pledge.
The Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we'd like to ask that Douglas Dickerson come up front, please. I'm going to read this, and I'll come around there with you in just a moment so they can hear us. Resolution of appreciation. Whereas Douglas Dickerson has served the people of Person County during his tenure working for Person County as a transit specialist with the Person Area Transportation System, and whereas Douglas Dickerson has served the citizens of Person County with honor, integrity, sincerity, and dedication, providing accurate, concise services for 6 years, November the 10th through May the 2017, and whereas Douglas Dickerson has earned the respect and admiration of all who have known him and worked with him throughout his career, and whereas the County of Person recognizes the many contributions Douglas Dickerson has made to the county and offers him the sincere best wishes for his retirement. Now, therefore, I, Tracy L. Kendrick, Chairman of the Person County Board of Commissioners, do hereby extend this resolution of appreciation to Douglas Dickerson for continually striving to make Person County and Roxboro a better place to live and work, adopted this day, the 5th day of June, 2017. Thank you. Would you like to share anything? Any words of wisdom? Help us out with the budget.
Well, there's a lot of things I can share with you commissioners after living in Person County all my life. But one of the biggest pleasures that I've had living here is actually working for this county and the people of this county. You got a big bunch back here that knows me for who I am and what I stand for. And one thing I would like to address the commissioners real quick is you work for these people. Take care of us. If you hadn't realized it lately, Person County is becoming a senior citizens county. Everybody moving in here from up north, they're already seniors. I've just become one myself. So if you will, put it in your hearts to remember you're serving us, and we would like for you to follow through with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Discussion and adjustment and approval of the agenda. Is there any adjustments of the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, motion to remove item 8 from the agenda.
There's a motion to remove item 8 from the agenda. Is there any discussion?
We're going to add it later on for
Yeah.
discussion?
Yeah, just to give you a little background, Ray, we've had some people who were interested in
No,
that
I understand
bill.
that. I just want to make sure we're going to have a chance to discuss that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Any other discussion?
Put your volume up, I can't hear you in the back.
IT? So, there's a motion on the table. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Volume up, we cannot hear you.
It's probably the AC unit too.
I am not a heckler. I want to hear you.
Is that any better? We can turn the air off.
Whatever.
Okay,
We want to hear you.
somebody turn the air off. Kyle, you mind getting that?
Ray's
Turn
got
the
it.
air,
Ray's
turn the
got
air
it.
on well.
First staff's got it.
All right.
Got a fan?
So there's motion on the table to take item number 8 off the agenda. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, what's the pleasure of the board?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion comes off. Any other adjustments of the agenda? Hearing none, I'd entertain a vote on approving the agenda as it's set with item number 8 coming off. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, the agenda is set. We've read the resolution of appreciation, and this is the public hearing section. We have 10 people who have signed up to speak for the public hearing comments. We're going to do approximately 20 minutes apiece. Please understand that this, 2 minutes each, excuse me. Did I misspeak? 2 minutes each for a total of 20. So, ladies and gentlemen, please understand that this is a public hearing, that people came here to have things to say. They wanted us to hear it as county commissioners. So I would ask that the people would listen and be respectful of the people who are up here speaking. If you would like to cheer, there's baseball games going on ESPN at home. You can go home and cheer to those, but let's let the people who come here to speak have their say. Commissioners, I would ask that we listen to what they have to say. If you have pertinent questions, please ask those pertinent questions, but we'll have our format when we get to the budget sessions to work on our budget, to discuss how we feel about these issues. Anyone else have any comments on the public hearing? Hearing none, number 1, Celestine Bradshaw.
Mr. Chairman, motion to go into the public hearing.
All right, thank you. Have a motion to go into public hearing, or is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of going into public hearing, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Going into public hearing, thank you. First speaker, Celestine Bradshaw, please. Please state your name and your address.
My name is Celestine Bradshaw. I live at 870 Old Allensville Road, Roxborough, North Carolina. And I'd like to speak on behalf of the Senior Center. For me, it's been a very important place because it was a time in my life I was in a wheelchair. I couldn't walk because of rheumatoid arthritis. And by going to the Senior Center with the exercise classes, I have been able not only to come out of the wheelchair, I don't use a walker, I don't have to use a cane that often. And I am almost a senior. I had to retire because of disability reasons. But on behalf of those who are homebound and the seniors who have no one to stay with them, coming to the center is sometimes the only chance to communicate and come in contact with other people. And if you don't live by yourself, you don't understand how important it is, because you can go days and not say a word because there's nobody there for you to say a word to. So the center is very important because it gives a lot of our seniors the opportunity to talk and to communicate with other people. I used to be a pet bus driver until I had to come off of disability, and I drove these people around, and sometimes the only people they talked to was us on the bus. And they would tell us all of their business because they had no one to talk to. They're home alone all the week long. Once a month they came out. So the center is a very important place to me and to others. It's a place for older people to come out and communicate and get exercise, and some get a good meal there. So consider whatever it takes to keep it up and running. I hope y'all can do it because it keeps me on my feet. I go that exercise every day. As long as it's running, I'm able to go that exercise and able to walk and be active in my community. Thank y'all very much.
Ms. Susan Naylor. Again, please hold your applause. It's a public hearing.
Good evening. I'm Susan Naylor, 481 Valhalla Drive, Timberlake, North Carolina. And I am here on behalf of the seniors. I have given the clerk a petition of 200 signatures of seniors that are concerned with losing the funding. You've given us a beautiful building. We all love it. We have almost tripled in people coming to our building. And if it is not funded in the accordance with the way it has been funded in the past, the doors will shut, the doors will close, and that is very unfortunate because you will be sitting with a $2.2 million building empty. And like Ms. Bradshaw was saying, this touches lives. I teach exercise, and I get comments almost weekly. If I did not come here, I would not be able to get out of bed. My doctor, when I went to the doctor, my health has improved. And this is not a needs, this is not a want list. It is not a wish list. The money in this budget is a needs list. We need it, and we hope that you will get your hearts, work as a team, work together, and give us the funds that we need to keep this building open. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Naylor. Mr. Don Shotwell. And again, please state your name and your address.
My name is Don Shotwell from Cabell Chubb Road. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a longtime volunteer as well as a participant when I'm not working in our senior center. My question is, why would you spend money on a building and then not continue to fund the services it houses? You've heard the saying, a penny wise, a pound foolish. I believe that applies here. I remember 2 years ago, one of you insisted that $10,000 be added to the budget to build showers in the county employee workout room. Who will be using those showers now? Did you need those showers or want those showers? Do we need senior services and a senior center in this county? Absolutely. The population numbers make it clear. It's a no-brainer. At least one of you has publicly stated numerous times since our election 2 years ago that the county should not be funding nonprofits. Well, that may sound good, but it's nonsense when it comes to our senior center. Did you know that Person County is the only county in our region that does not have a senior center and senior services under the county? You didn't want to take over in 2011, and you don't want to help fund it now. I am thinking it will cost much more than $300,000 if the center and the services were part of the county agency. Also, I read in the paper that now your excuse for leaving that operations funding is that a written request is not received from Region K for that funding. Your excuses have changed since the proposed budget was presented. First, several of you, and the county manager as well, told people in person or on the phone or by email that you had in fact not only funded the center, but increased funding by double or triple, depending on which one of you was talking. Then as I was concerned and outrage grew in the county, and after 2 weeks, the story changed. Now the excuse is that the county did not receive a written request from Region K. Did anyone from the county manager's office tell Region K that the process would be different this year? I know they asked for rent help the last 3 years, but I have never in writing requested the operation funding. Changing the process without telling them is dirty politics and just unethical. Of course, this was just the latest excuse, so maybe it wasn't all that well thought out. This is a county with an aging population. That fact will not change. We don't have a young workforce to entice a company needing 500 more employees. What we do have is more and more seniors. Check out what other counties like Chatham County are doing. Plan for an aging population and act on it. In front of our senior center, there's a brand new sign that says, "Never too old to play." And I may also add, never too old to learn, never too old to listen, and never too old to vote. Thank you very much.
And I apologize. Curtis Bratcher? Okay, just making sure. Mr. Curtis Bratcher.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners, manager, good friend over there, attorney. We've worked together for a long time. It's a pleasure to be here this evening to address the commissioners. Now, where I served for 16 years altogether as county commissioners, and I was the commissioner serving on the Senior Citizen Board. We always, in my 16 years, supported the senior center. The senior center. We always supported it. Now we're looking now at different, we got a $2.5 million building, and we noticed that 2 years ago that you donated over $100,000 for operation expense. Last year you talked about, you donated again $94,000 for operating expense. This year you're talking about zero for operating expense. Don't see that quite right because I have the statistics in my hand here. The 30,000 population here in Person County, over 50% of the taxpayers in this county is paid by senior citizens. Over 50%. I have it in my hand here, right from the tax office. Is paying the tax in Person County. They deserve operation monies to operate the senior center. And I certainly hope that you look at this, and because of it's needful. And I don't see the reason why it shouldn't be put in the budget this time for operating expense, $100,000. That's all I have to say, and at this time. Maybe saying something later.
Thank you, Mr. Bratcher. Ms. Tammy Kirkland.
Tammy Kirkland, 2312 Cunningham Road, Samora. I did not have to follow Curtis. I just want to say, nice things attract residents, and if you want more tax base, you need to attract some residents. The senior center is a very nice thing, especially now in its new building. It's used by a lot of groups, not just seniors. We were talking to a young girl who's now a college student, but when she was a Girl Scout, they met in the senior center. I go to various meetings at the senior center, and I'm almost old enough to use it. I thought I was old enough to use it. Mayno won't let me. And that's all I really wanted to say. So give them some money to operate. Raise my taxes. I don't care. I paid more taxes in Granville County on much less land, so go for it.
Thank you, Ms. Kirkland. Mr. Nelson Johnson.
Hi, I'm Nelson Johnson. I live at 225 Charles Circle in Roxborough. I'm just a recent user of the senior center, and I was just recently educated on how the senior center is funded or had been funded in years past, and I sit at home and I wonder, you buy a new building, you fund not only the fitness center and all the other exercise rooms for the senior center, but all of the other Meals on Wheels and other functions that the senior center provides. And that's done through the funding from the county and matching funds that they get from state grants. And it all makes sense to me. But then I sit and I think, certainly I'm a new member here, and I'm just finding this out. I cannot believe that you commissioners know how this senior center is funded, and yet you put zero money in the budget. It's hard to comprehend. And I ask, not only for myself, I'm healthy, I can get to the senior center, and I can exercise, and I can enjoy all of the facilities there. But there are people who are shut-ins and they get Meals on Wheels. You're taking that away from them as well. I just don't understand how you can put $0 in the budget. And I hope you can explain that to me and maybe the rest of the audience this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Robert Allen.
Robert Allen, 549 Old City Lake Road, Roxborough. I would respectfully request that you add $100,000 to the budget for the senior center for operational funds. The primary reason is that they need those funds in order to achieve or to obtain the matching funds that allow them to do Meals on Wheels, the home care and community block grants and that type thing. Without those matching funds that the local government provides, they can't get the matching funds they need to do all the things that they do. So I think you really need, in order to think beyond just the $100,000 or how much ever it is you allocate, to what it means to be able to get the additional funding that needs to really continue to operate. They can occupy the building, but if they don't have the funding to do all the things that they should be doing, Meals on Wheels and that type of thing, well, it's pointless to even fund it at all. So I would just ask you to please include the $100,000 back in the budget for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. John Allen. Mr. Bruce Whitfield.
I'm Bruce Whitfield on Gordon Road in Hurdle Mills. I want to thank the commissioners for allowing me to speak and to serve on the Ag Advisory Board. In June of last year, the Ag Advisory Board presented commissioners with a farmland preservation plan that unanimously passed. Additionally, we asked for representation on the Economic Development Board through an ex officio position. We would like to thank you for your full support of the Farmland Preservation Plan and continuing opposition on the EDC Board. The agriculture community is made up of not just farmers. We are educated with degrees in various aspects of agriculture, such as crops, livestock, forestry, and agribusiness. We are businessmen and women who manage hundreds of thousands of dollar budgets, and in some cases, $1 million budgets. We are among the largest taxpayers in Person County. Several are in the top 100. Agriculture has a $91 million impact on the economy of Person County, and the largest industry in Person County, generating 11% of the workforce. In developing the Farmland Preservation Plan, we discovered several key issues, and don't have enough time to go through all of them. But all the issues are very important to agriculture, and the action items are in the Farmland Preservation Plan. In order to stay in the game and not fall farther behind, the Ag Advisory Board has written the Farmland Preservation Plan and calls for hiring a dedicated agricultural development officer who would work closely with the Economic Development Commission and act as the agricultural ex officio position on the EDC board. This person would coordinate and lead efforts to fulfill the goals of the Farmland Preservation Plan and focusing on the growth of Person County's agricultural economy. And we would like you to consider that position. Thank you.
Thank you. Lawrence Upperman. Mr. Lawrence Upperman. Did I get that correct?
Lawrence Upperman, 114 Clayton Street, Roxborough, North Carolina. I have agreed with everything that's been said this evening regarding the seniors. What I don't understand is that while you would move us to a brand-new building and not fund us, it just doesn't add up. I'm relatively new to the senior center, and the reason being is because I've had to go to Durham and I've had to go to Oxford to exercise because we didn't have adequate equipment here in Roxborough. And now that we got all this equipment, I mean, it's used every day. I go every day, I feel so much better. I was really jealous because Durham and Oxford had more than what we had here. And sometimes it feels like that nobody cares about the seniors. But we are human beings too. And we want to survive by exercising and doing the right things. I feel like that we have a facility that will help us give more life. It really is very appreciative of where we are now. I love where we are. It's easy for me to get to it. I exercise every day. Now I don't have to go to Durham. I don't have to go to Oxford. I mean, it really frustrates me because we get into this battle on budgets. All I'm asking, please, please help us. Don't destroy us. And sometimes it makes you feel like that nobody cares about the seniors. But we love Roxborough. We love where we are. All I'm asking is that you support us. Be there with us. We can't do it by ourselves.
Thank you, Mr. Uppleman. Ms. Marjorie Steele.
I think everybody here, Margie Staley, Heiko Lake, I think everybody here pretty much knows what I'm going to say. I totally agree with everything that's been said previously. The only thing I can add to is I look forward to the day when you guys don't aggravate me enough that I have to get up here and speak and you have to listen to my mouth all the time. It's really frustrating. I can't even fathom how this situation could have arisen. The lack of communications in this community sometimes boggles my mind. I do feel that there's ageism involved in it, and it really annoys me. The senior citizen population in this community is growing. It's growing rapidly. It's growing in every community. Instead of ignoring us and stepping on us all the time, I think you should use us. I think you should build fantastic facilities for the seniors and attract seniors from all the more expensive communities to come and use these wonderful facilities in Person County, come and live in Person County, spend their pensions in Person County. That's where your economic development for the future, I feel, could be if you would use your heads. But unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be happening. And I'm sorry, but I'm really irritated about this. I also don't understand why our taxes can't go up. Everything else in 11 years has gone up. When I go to the grocery store, the percentage of my food bill is much higher than it used to be. When I go to buy clothing, when I go to buy anything, why are our taxes, why do they have to not go up? When something like as important as the senior center gets put on a back burner. I just think this whole thing with the senior center has been obscene. And I think we're all going to have to think about it when we go to the voting booth. Thank you.
Thank you all for speaking. At this time, we don't have any more speakers. I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Would you, Miss Betty, would you like to? Okay, we're going to put Miss Betty on public hearing, and we're going to take her off of the public comment.
I'm sorry, you can
No,
tell.
so that's fine, Miss Betty.
Okay. I'm aged, okay?
I am too, Miss Betty.
You went to school with my children. I know you're not that old. But anyway.
She's right about that.
The budget. Now, I'm in favor of the fire. In fact, I pay more than if you raise the taxes for the fire 1%. I pay more than that volunteer to give to our local one. But you said only 2% gave. So why not put it in there so all of them will pay? So raise it 1 or 2%. My uncle died a couple of years ago, within the last 2 years, because he was on that board of Orange County, and they couldn't get anybody to come in Person County. They finally put him in the car and took him to Durham, and he died before he got there. This year, his grandson, my cousin, passed out, couldn't get, and they had the experience with that, couldn't get anybody. So they put him in the car, and
Apologize.
I know you want me to shut up, but anyway. But he stayed in the hospital for over a month. And so I'm glad you did something about it in one of your recent meetings. I think you tried to do something about it and handle that. Thank you. But I don't know why we can't pay a penny or two or whatever. I suggest about the senior center charging a fee for all who use it. Now, I don't mean some of the elderly who cannot afford maybe a fee, but there are many people who meet there. We meet there. The organization I belong to is nonprofit. It only comes from the money we provide, but we pay to meet there. And I don't have a problem with that, even though we're a nonprofit. Now, the state increased taxes about 20%. Now, I know you read in the paper and that they didn't. They gave you a tax cut. Well, that's bull. Excuse my language. They did increase taxes at about 20% because they took away the child care, it was subtly done. And a lot of people don't realize it. They took away the child care credit. They took away, for the elderly like me, all the medical expenses. And they hit the Christians really hard because they took away all the giving. And probably the Christian churches in this, or in other churches in this county, probably do as much for the sick and love offerings as the county pays for some of them. So they did raise taxes, okay, not in the same way, but it's still taxes. And so I don't know why we can't have money for the senior center. And we don't have to provide money from an organization that kills people to get it. Let me give you a suggestion. All these wealthy people in the county, supposedly there are some, why don't they build affordable senior rest homes or nursing homes or whatever? They can make a profit. People are paying what, $30,000, $40,000? I don't know what they're paying. I may have to go in one. I may soon find out. It would do me in, but anyway, I may have to. But why can't they build those that are wealthy? Why can't they build places like that? It would provide employees, income, and if they're going to have to go somewhere because you can't get in a lot of the places. And so I don't know why you can't do that. So I suggest to those who are wealthy and don't mind taxing poor people, you build those places. You've got land and you've got the money. I'll get it right. I may not get back up if I get in again.
Ray wants that vote.
I'll give it to you. So thank you. And I don't have a problem, even though I would almost in the poverty level, I don't mind you raising taxes for things like that, the senior center and those things.
Thank you, Miss Betty. So now we have the end of our public hearing and public comments. I would entertain a motion to close public hearing. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I would like to note that out of 11 people that spoke, 9, 10, if you include Ms. Betty, spoke about the senior center. And if this board truly is considerate about doing our public hearing before we do our work sessions and take that stuff in consideration, then obviously we know what item we should be taking up seriously when we discuss the manager's proposed budget.
Thank you, Ray. I apologize for skipping over that. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, just want to realize, just to say, the county commissioners have not voted. I heard rumors that there was a vote a couple of weeks ago that we voted 3-2 to defund the senior center, which was not true. This is the first time, I believe a gentleman had a question he wanted to explain why, I guess, why everyone was here tonight. This is a proposed budget given by the county manager. The Board of County Commissioners have not held one budget work session regarding this. This forum, this meeting is to hear your opinion. So the Board of Commissioners have not started the budget process in regards to discussion. So I just want to make that clear that the commissioners have not placed any action regarding the senior center. And I know there'll be some people that are speculating or trying to hound on being, I guess, fear-mongers would be the best word for it. But the county commissioners, I want to make that clear that there has been no official discussion, no official decision made regarding funding. All we have seen so far was the recommendation by the county manager on her budget, and now it's in our hands, and this is the very first step in that process.
While we're clearing things up, I have a few questions also then, since we want to clear things up. On not the chamber, but the Bull Uptown Development that we fund through our economic development? Roxborough Development Group. Do they put in a request for funding every year?
They did not.
What about, well, I know our fire departments did this year because we were trying to work with them maybe on some type of extra funding, but other than the contract, who sets that rate? What we pay them or what we give them? They don't put in a formal request, do they?
No, they did submit a proposal to the board
This year, because we were trying to work with them on some added funding.
Correct.
But normally, they do not submit a request. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct.
And when
Let me
we-
just clarify, in the Roxborough Development Group, we do have a contract between the city and the county that sets the amount that they receive. So that's why they don't submit a proposal.
And when we did that, when we got rid of nonprofit funding in this county, it was that board's decision to fund, I think at that time, 3 areas of nonprofit funding that we had previously been funding for years, which was the senior center, fire department, and economic development by means of Uptown Development Group. Is that correct? That was all our understanding?
Repeat that, Ray, I'm sorry.
When we did away with nonprofit funding in this county, before, when I first got on this board, everybody put in requests. We had it from the Person County Group Homes, we had it from Ray's nonprofit, Jay's nonprofit, Kyle's nonprofit. And then we got into budget crunch, 2008 came. I think we funded maybe a couple of years, and then we got out of the business of funding nonprofits. But when we did that, we decided that 3 were very important to us that we would continue to fund, which was economic development, fire departments, and Uptown, senior center. Would that be your understanding? You've been on the board just as long as I have.
I would include the Chamber of Commerce as a
Chamber of Commerce,
nonprofit.
exactly. But that was our understanding. So it would be hard for me to believe or understand, based off of our conversations we've had dealing with the senior center and our budget retreat, where the direction would have come from to not fund their operating costs. Now, we can say all day long it's the manager's budget, it is, but she takes her direction from this board. I think that was made clearly by Commissioner Powell when the direction at the retreat was to raise taxes, but that changed between the retreat and the proposed budget. So direction comes from somewhere. So I think if we're going to clear things up, we should clear it all the way up. Now, this is grandstanding, Mr. Chairman, not my resolution for safe water that was mentioned in the paper last week. But if I grandstand, I will always grandstand for the people of Person County, not for Ray Jeffers.
But that was an unofficial, non-binding poll.
No, I didn't say vote, I said direction.
It's a poll.
No, it's
Non-binding.
direction to the manager to propose her budget.
I would also, since we're talking about.
Since you hear rumors, I hear rumors too.
I hear a lot of rumors. I wonder where they come from sometimes. One question for the council, since we're talking about nonprofit, and I brought up Chamber of Commerce. Chamber of Commerce, have they submitted a request for any type of funding?
And I'll present that at your work session scheduled for Wednesday.
Okay.
I have 3 additional requests that came after the proposed budget was presented, including fireworks, personality festival, and there's one other I'm forgetting, but I have 3.
Okay, so, but there are other nonprofits.
Oh,
that-
the 225th anniversary, that was the
Okay,
third
well,
one.
but there are other nonprofits that are submitting a budget request to us that we will hear as well.
Yes, I will share those with you on Wednesday, yes.
And I want to plug the Chamber of Commerce. I'm not picking on us because my wife works there. But I do want to thank their decision, and they had been charging us a membership fee every year, and in an effort to help us with our budget, they withdrew that membership to help us, and since we own the facility and we keep up cost, and so I really want to thank the Chamber of Commerce for willing to do their part and eliminating that request from the membership fee.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Public hearing is closed. We have informal comments, and we had 2, but we're down to 1 because Miss Betty moved over. So, Mr. Kenneth Perry, please come forward and state your name and address, please.
Good evening. Good evening, commissioners and
Good
staff
evening.
and fellow citizens and friends of Person County. I'm representing economic development at this moment. And the part of economic development I would like to present to you all tonight as Chairman Whitfield of the Agricultural Advisory Committee. We're representing the farm community, the farming community, not only the large-scale farmers, but also our manufacturers, Boise Cascade, Louisiana Pacific, but we're also representing our citizens, our backyard farmers, our local farmers that go to the farmers market, our restaurants that have farm to table, our citizens that bring agriculture products to our new senior center, and the agriculture products that our firefighters are able to cook when they're on their duty between calls. One thing about, it's called the Farmland Preservation, and it was adopted by the commissioners in June of 2016. This is 1 year later, and economic development is encouraging, it's very much encouraging the commissioners to continue to support the Farmland Preservation Plan, along with the details that Chairman Whitfield talked about. One thing about agriculture, if you don't, the farming community is a community that likes to stand on its own 2 feet, and they do not like to have government in their business if they can just help it. And that has been traditional for farmers as long as I've been alive, and probably some of you that are a little bit older than I am. But as citizens, we are always trying to help each other to stand on our own 2 feet. And at this time, the agriculture community is asking for help from our fellow citizens through our commissioners about a position that would be dedicated to furthering the advancement of agriculture in our community. We have a broad and diverse agriculture community, exotic animals. It's putting a lot of, 91% of our economic development, present economic development is in agriculture. I'm encouraging you from the Economic Development Commission to continue to support the agriculture community with the Farmland Preservation Plan as presented, and any new ideas that the Agriculture Board and our fellow citizens have as far as continuing that support. The provision of having a dedicated county employee for agricultural development is a very good idea that has been thoroughly vetted by the Economic Development Commission, and we encourage you to, in your upcoming budget sessions, to really, 1 year later from the adoption of the plan, to have that, so the citizens of Person County continue the pride in person that we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kenneth Perry. Item number 3, discussion and adjustment, approval of the consent agenda. Is there any changes in the consent agenda? Is there any discussion in the consent agenda?
Move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
There's a motion on the table. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, what is the pleasure of the board? If you would, please indicate by saying aye if you would like to approve.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. New business before the board. Item number 4, presentation of the fire and rescue audit results. Ms. Amy.
Just didn't want to try that last
I just can't do it. I butcher enough stuff up here.
Good evening. It's part of the contractual requirements with the fire and rescue agencies that they participate in a full financial audit process every other year for review in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles and auditing standards. For the fiscal year 2016 report, the county bid out and awarded Winston Williams Creech and Evans as the primary contracted audit firm to complete the audit work for the fire and rescue agencies. Jim Winston is representing this firm and is here tonight to share with the board a summary of results after completion or near completion of the audit reports. So I'll hand it over to him.
I'll start off like I always do when I do one of these. You want the long version or the short version?
Short version.
Short. That's what I usually get. I went up to do one of these presentations, and there was a Carolina game on that night, and they said, you got exactly 30 seconds. It's 4 fire departments that are not listed. They're in the process of being finished up, but the things I'm going to talk about apply to pretty much across the board. The big thing I see and when I go through all of the fire departments, and it's not unusual to see that in fire departments because every one of them are different, is a lack of segregation of duties. You got a couple people that write the checks and reconcile the bank accounts. And I just recommend that you have as much segregation as you can. And that might be as simple as having a board member or one of the management of the fire departments come in and just review the bank statements and see what checks have been written. See if you recognize any vendors that should, or if you don't recognize some vendors that are on there, then you ask the question. Another thing was formal approval and documentation of invoices. I said some of them were better than others, but everybody ought to sign off on it. And the other big thing that I'm big on, and particularly in a fire department like that, is dual signatures on checks. Some of them have it and some of them don't, but I would recommend that you have dual signatures on those checks. You just got another set of eyes looking at it that gives you some warm, fuzzy feeling. Conflict of interest policy. Most of them had it, about half had it, the other half didn't. You might want to have a conflict of interest policy. And the big one is money's on the table with this one is North Carolina sales and use tax refund. And we're better than we've been, and we've got a couple of them that don't have the exemption in place, but they're working on it. And as soon as they get that exemption in place, then we can file, we can go back 3 years and get that sales tax that's been paid. So that's free money out there that you paid, you might as well get it back. So, and I know 2 of them are working on it. Timberlake is working on it, and so is Woodsdale. And so as soon as they get that, they'll file the sales tax refund report. 501c4 status, all of them had it except for Timberlake, and it's pending right now. It's on, the IRS has recognized that they got the form and the request, and so I don't see any problem with that. Form 990 across the board, all of them were filed, which was, I couldn't believe it when I got through, but that's a good thing because they're getting the 990s filed. Annual balanced budget, I think they're working on that, and most of them have some form of a budget, but I would encourage you to look at it and make sure they've got a balanced budget. All of them have a performance bond, and that's a good thing because if something happens, you want to be able to get your money back. But that's really in a nutshell. If you look, sort down through all 9 of the departments, you're going to see that come out. The only thing I would like to say is on Timberlake, they showed the most improvement. Of course, last year, if we got to it, we couldn't audit it because it was such a mess. But they have really done a nice job of cleaning that up and doing a good job of rectifying that situation. So hats off to Timberlake. And I'll be glad to try to answer any questions if you got any.
Will you give Amy a copy of all your recommendations?
Yes, I will. And we'll send out a management letter and everything, because I think they have to respond before they get the funding for 2018.
Okay.
Right.
Any further questions? Amy, anything else to report? Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Item number 5, Home and Community Care Block Grant Funding 2017-2018. Ms. Maynell Harper.
I think you should find in your packets 3 forms. One is the county funding plan. Then there's separate forms for the senior center and the Department of Social Services. As stated in the agenda abstract, the Block Grant Committee met, discussed the funding, and this is their allocation plan that they're putting before you and asking for your approval.
Just a moment, we
Yeah,
just
that's
got this
fine.
today. So is there any questions from the board? Okay. Here. Certainly.
So the first spreadsheet that you're looking at is the total funding. The second one is the Home and Community Care Block Grant funding and match required for the Region K nonprofit that oversees the senior center. And then the third page is the DSS one. So the DSS one's already in the budget. The match for the senior center is the $32,545. That is not currently budgeted, so approval of this requires an additional $32,545 in next year's budget. And that would address the petition that was presented to you, which asks specifically for the Home and Community Care Block Grant funds to be restored. We hadn't put that in because we did not have the numbers finalized yet. So the match on that is the $32,545, just to clarify.
Any further comments or questions?
Move to approve the funding allocation recommendation for the block grant for Person County.
There's a proposal on the board. Is there any discussion? And just for clarification, you're looking at the 32...
Yes.
The 32,000 for the block grant?
Yes, sir.
32,545?
Yes, sir.
That's
Required
the
local
required
match?
match for this grant, yes.
Yes, okay.
You
So
don't
there's,
have that, do you get the relevant money? Would DSS get theirs?
yes.
I've got the DSS one already. The 32,413.
Any further discussion? Okay, there's a motion on the board to fund $32,545 for the additional block grant funding local match. What is the pleasure of the board? Please indicate by saying aye if you approve.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing no opposed.
Thank you,
Passes for
gentlemen.
$32,545. Thank you. Item number 6, 1-year extension of the solid waste contract with Republic.
Mr. Chairman, the board at its last meeting authorized and enacted a 2-year franchise for the solid waste. That action of the board included authorizing the moving forward with one-year contract extensions. The existing contract for solid waste authorizes additional years at the same rate. In order to have the contract, it must be supported by franchise. The contract before you is for a one-year extension of the existing contract, which will have all the conditions and requirements of what you've had for years, no increase, no decrease, continuation of the same. This is for 1 year. You may consider at the end of this 1-year contract, an additional 1-year contract under the existing 2-year franchise agreement. So the only thing before you tonight is a 1-year extension of the existing contract under the same terms and conditions as the existing contract.
Are there any questions for Mr. Aycock? Hearing none, what is the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
There's a motion on the table. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion items, all in favor of the 1-year extension of the solid waste contract with Republic, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item number 7, reconveyance of school property to the school board. Mr. Ron Aycock.
This is a first impression for the county. In June of 1999 and March of 2007, the Board of Commissioners authorized the financing of improvements at schools and other county facilities. To secure that financing, the board in effect placed a mortgage on school property. In order to do that, the schools was required to convey the property to the county so that the county could place the lien on that particular school property. Then there was an operating lease agreement back, so the schools operated, the school system operated the schools just as before. The legal requirement was that the county must have ownership of the schools in order to place a lien on those schools. The law requires at the end of the financing, when all debts have been repaid, that the Board of Commissioners must reconvey those schools back to the school board. This proposal before you involves 5 properties: North Elementary School, Stories Creek, South Elementary School, Helena, and the school bus garage. So the request before you is to authorize execution by the county of a deed back to the school board of these properties.
Are there any questions of Mr. Aycock? What would be the pleasure of the board? Move for approval. There's a motion on the table to approve the reconveyance of school property back to the school board. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, if you are in favor of reconveying the school property back to the school board, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes. Item number 8, sale of surplus property, was taken off the agenda for tonight. I have 2 items as the chairman's report, and I apologize for not bringing this up sooner. I had it at the last meeting, but went through a senior moment and couldn't remember. But I'd like to congratulate David Bratcher. Our local radio station here was awarded a lot of accolades for his service to our community. He won several, and I apologize if I could get you to come up and tell me, do you remember them all? I can't remember them. I've been sitting up here Googling. I hope y'all don't mind. I've been Googling.
I may be able to find it, but it was the Nielsen ratings.
And we beat a lot of other local places that were a lot bigger than us.
Absolutely. It was the Nielsen ratings for this entire region, and he came in #1 in every area of broadcasting. And that's a big thing for the community too, for their listening and support of the radio station.
Well, tell David we said thank you in this meeting, in this format. And I remember growing up, when I got up in the mornings, every morning, my mom had the radio station on, and we always listened to the birthdays, and we listened to the school lunch menu. And so that was the two things that we had to hear before we got going with our clothes on. So thank you, David, and thank you for supporting him in all of the efforts that he does. The other thing that I would like to touch base on today at about 10 o'clock a.m., Ms. Fox sent out an announcement to the county and said, on behalf of Baird Crumpton, Chairman of the Piedmont Community College Board of Trustees, this board is pleased to announce that Pamela G. Senegal has been selected as the next president of Piedmont Community College and will join the college family on July the 1st, 2017. So at some point, we will have a welcome aboard for Ms. Pam, Dr. Pam. She is at Durham Technical Community College now. She has a very extensive resume. She is a very smart lady. I look forward to working with her through the Board of Commissioners and PCC. I think her leadership will help to develop our EDC here in Person County. So if you have an opportunity to please talk to Ms. Pam Senegal, please do so and welcome her aboard. Managers? Certainly.
#1 in cumulative number of persons listening to the station. #1 in percentage of cumulative listeners. #1 in average quarter-hour persons. #1 in average quarter share percentage of listeners. #1 in every category, which outdid the powerful 100,000 watt station in Durham, Raleigh, and Danville. This is the first time that's ever happened with the Roxborough radio station, and they have been operating for 70 years.
Wow.
And that's got to be really big, because I never thought anybody would put Nielsen rating and Person County in the same sentence. But tell him thank you. Ms. York, Manager's Report.
Yes, I'd just like to remind you that your first budget work session is scheduled for Wednesday, 9 o'clock, up in the boardroom, which will be your first opportunity to make any adjustments. And we'll start with a list of adjustments that we have to make you aware of, and then we have a set agenda built around the requests that you all wanted to discuss. And certainly if there's anything else you'd like to add to that. The next work session after that, we'll announce once we see how far we get and let everybody know when that will be scheduled. So Wednesday at 9. Thank you.
Mr. Jeffers.
I'd like to mention I serve on the Environmental Issues Advisory Committee for the county. They have thrown support behind the Helena Elementary School's Environmental Club, and they are raising money for solar panels. And then they put in for a North Carolina Green Power Solar Schools grant. They want to, NC Green Power launched a pilot program on April 1st, 2015 to provide matching grants for the installation of solar PV arrays at schools, providing clean, green, renewable energy in North Carolina, and happy to let you know that Helena was among 5 that were selected. And so they are raising money to match and get those solar panels, so I want to put that out there.
Thank you, Mr. Jeffers. Mr. Clayton.
Well, I will mention that I did speak to that group since you brought them up a couple of weeks ago, and I think when you talk about environmental, I don't think they realized how many areas they were actually covering. A lot of people, when you say environmental, think of trees and birds, but I think of wastewater and drinking water and food. So environmental covers a broad spectrum, and I think that's a good thing for those children to be learning. I think that most of them are in like the 4th and 5th grade.
Mr. Powell, Mr. Pereira, sorry, got my P's mixed up.
Go Wolfpack, beat Kentucky.
They did.
They play again tonight.
Oh. Mr. Powell.
I attended the same meeting with the children at Helena that Mr. Clayton mentioned a minute ago, and we talked about several different issues. And I think one thing that I talked to them about was environmental as well as Mr. Clayton, but what piqued their interest a little bit was that I had a clear water bottle and asked for what they thought those bottles could be used for, and they came up with half a dozen different uses. Some were pretty remarkable. And also, along with that, my show and tell, I had an elastic waistband from Fruit of the Loom underwear, and asked them what did they have in common, the plastic water bottle and the waistband. Of course, no one knew. I don't know if you know or not, but they manufacture those Fruit of the Loom underwear waistbands from recycled water bottles. And they do that here in North Carolina. Coincidentally, my brother-in-law is one of the big owners of that company. He employs 150 people. But the sad part of it is they have to buy the water bottles from China because we won't recycle them here in North Carolina. But anyway, that brought a few laughs from them. One of the kids said, "Well, I thought you were going to tell me you made the bottles from the waistbands." But I don't know. That's all. Thank you, sir.
I want to thank you for leaving me with that thought. At this time, we have a meeting on June 7th, 2017 at 9 a.m., and we would ask that if anyone would want to come and listen, it's another budget meeting in the Board of Commissioners meeting room, and I'd entertain a motion to recess at this time until June 7th, 2017 at 9 a.m.
Motion to recess.
All in favor, or is there any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting's closed.